Hey everyone, this is Mike, and I'm here with Isaac,
Hey.
and we're here to talk about some video games. More specifically, we're here to talk about Nintendo once again, as they've recently decided to make a pretty quote unquote gross statement regarding Palworld and their ongoing lawsuit with Pocketpair, and a topic from Games Phrase suggesting that mods should not count as prior art because they can't run without underlying games. Okay, they're basically saying that mods shouldn't be counted as a part of a game because obviously they require the original game to run it, which is a pretty crazy thing to say because sometimes mods can really transcend a game, especially when the people that develop those mods really put an insane amount of effort to basically reprogram, recode, and just basically do a complete overhaul of a game. It's completely possible that some of the most popular games started as mods. Like biggest example being League of Legends. How it started as originally started as Defense of the Ancients in Warcraft 3, and then eventually it spun off its own thing, which became League of Legends. And there was a whole controversy how Valve wanting to have the rights to Dota, and then Blizzard saying they wanted to keep the rights to Dota because it was made in their game and all that stuff and yada yada yada. But that's all the topic for another day. Again, topic being here again is just Nintendo saying that mods should not count as prior art to games and stuff like that. Again, it's a topic from Games Fray. And basically, as they mentioned that in this lawsuit, they were basically speaking up to the judge and saying that they basically wanted to try to push this injunction because it's kind of crazy when you're looking at this. Yes, they wanted to push this injunction. Surely, again said, sure. Sorry, I can't speak right now. like like I said, Nintendo is seeking an injunction despite the fact that even one assumed purely for the sake of argument Nintendo's patents are valid and Pocketpair used them to infringe on them. Pocketpair would have to work around them by now. So as he mentioned, where we agree with Nintendo is that if there was an infringement in the past, there could be a risk of future infringements. So, Nintendo does have a point in saying that Pocketpair could undo the changes made, but Pocketpair equally understandably argues that any hypothetical injunction would have been worded in a way that does not impact a perfectly lawful version of Palworld. So, it is just a
So what does that
mess.
mean? What do you mean by that?
Okay, so basically an injunction. So I'm not big into law and stuff like that. But they're basically an injunction means they want Pocketpair to stop allowing mods as well. They basically want to stop modding. I'm thinking that they're mentioning this because of the fact that because Unreal Engine 5 is such an open
Open source
system that you can modify, that players can potentially mod features back into the game without their consent, and that's technically not
allowed.
That's technically not covered under law.
Yeah.
Because that's you can't go for lawsuits against every single mod. You can still copyright strike them if you want, but to go after as many mods as possible is going to be completely that's just virtually impossible.
Interesting. That is a very interesting take.
Yeah. And again, this is trying to help them with their patent infringement and whatnot. It's just again, it's just a kind of a messy situation with Nintendo because along with the whole patents of being able to summon monsters, throwing capture spheres on a field like that, and now them going after mods.
Essentially going off the modding community, which again, already was the fact of them getting past a U.S. patent right now for the throwing mechanic, which again is a broad, uh, uh, it's broad in its own terms. The fact that Nintendo's kind of now thrown in this another tidbit in terms of modification of said games. Like again, something I never really thought about it. At the end of the day, even though that, like, say that they don't win, some fan can come back and remod that stuff back into the game, and they can say like, well, this is not really us. We didn't make it. This is just simply a mod from a fan. That added this in. We have no responsibility for that. So you would have to go after the fan in that situation, which hasn't stopped Nintendo doing that either.
Yeah, they have something that.
So
also, as mentioned in the article, is that like they also want to go after moddings. So because even if like the mod like some fan wants to put it in, they also want to stop possible inspiration that the devs can take from the modding community and put that into their game.
Yeah.
Which is another like angle they're also arguing that they want to put a stop to that, which I mean, it's really like rude. It's like it's just like it's really rude of Nintendo for them to try to go after that because like as I mentioned that sometimes the biggest inspiration that you can get to improve your product is from your community. And like I said, like modding has lead to full like new ideas and full on products. I think biggest example of another game that just got revealed just a few days ago, week ago, or I guess from the time this comes out, or probably like 4 days ago from the time of this recording. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is a game that I loved. I believe it's 2 years old now, but it was basically a big homage to Jet Set Radio as like this like cell shaded like skateboarding, rollerblading BMX game. It's an amazing game, but the team behind that game, Team Reptile, has recently just announced a new game called Hyperfunk, which is basically the Jet Set Radio future to Jet Set Radio. And the game is basically taking everything that was popular from the modding community of Bomb Rush Cyberpunk and putting it into this game. Basically things like the extra tricks, the Movement Plus mod, which makes you go super fast speeds, the multiplayer mod that was made for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk from Slop Crew and the All City Network mod. They're basically saying, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's take a crack at that and put that into the game, and that's basically what Hyperfunk is. And it just goes to show you that when you have a lot of love from your community that's willing to create something within your game, you can use that for your business, and you can basically turn that into another form of profit to satisfy your customers. And it seems like Nintendo wants to cut that off as much as they can as well, and it's just
I mean, here's the thing. Like, yes, I think you look at it on one end of modifications. You're absolutely right. Like how modifications can add a different layer to the game or expand on the game experience, which usually what mods tend to do. Great example, Half-Life, the greatest thing.
Yeah,
Spanned off Counter-Strike. Like,
Yep.
And then from that, it became its own thing, and it grew. And then you looked at the legal side about it, how League of Legends started off as being one of those mods, basically made off the engine of
Warcraft
Warcraft 3, which also, like you mentioned, became its own legal battle because Nintendo, Blizzard tried to claim the rights for it. Like, no, this was built off our engine, so in a weird way, without you able to make that Dota game, without our engine, this game would not exist. So in a weird way, they were trying to sit down and claim that. But then there's also things that I do respect in terms of Nintendo, in terms of protecting their IPs and their properties. Like, here's a great example. You don't want Pikachu running around again in GTA 5. Like, that's not how you get. Like, there is a the modding community does have a weird grayish area in certain things in terms of liberties and stuff that they want to be taken for. So in that, I feel like Nintendo, I get it. I know where Nintendo's done some very scummy things, but also Nintendo has a right to protect their IPs in this situation as well. Granted, it's not been the best way of going at it at the moment right now. Now, with them kind of inkling it within this lawsuit that they're currently going right now with the patent one, it is a little concerning because once again, if this decides to get metal in, then now people that decide to sit down and make these kind of modifications right now, like now these companies can have the right to sit down and claim it and really kind of take it for their own though. Um, but yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky gray area to kind of play around with within the modding space in terms of everything that
Yeah.
happens with it. So.
It's yeah, like, as mentioned, it's just like I'm really hoping that like Nintendo really doesn't get away with this, because like again, the three patents that they're all messing with, again, throwing like the ability to capture monsters, throwing spears, the glider situation, and now the whole summoning mechanic is it's too much. It's really going to mess with the gaming industry as a whole, because I feel like if this is allowed to stand, you better believe that other companies are going to try to do the same thing. Because I mean, it was like, was that one other game? I forget what it was called. I believe it was like a Middle Earth theme game. I forget the company, but they patented that whole minion system. I forget the name of the game. I'm sure someone's going to mention in the comment section. But I remember a lot of people being upset about having that whole like minion system or whatever it's called from that like legal Lord of the Rings Middle Earth game.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that no other game can ever replicate that system ever again. I don't want to see that kind of thing happen to a game like this. And in fact, it's kind of funny because in a video before this, we really recently just discussed that Pocketpair has announced that they're releasing a Stardew Valley style game, and we were in that video we were even discussing how if Nintendo's gonna copyright that and say like we own the rights to quote unquote like farming simulators now. It's like this could get messy, man.
No, it can get messy and a little tricky. Now, again, it has to be a pull up in court, which at this point, I doubt it. I honestly doubt it does hold off in court. Um, though, however, it going back to that USA patent, if anybody just simply did their due diligence about it, this probably would have been an issue because, again, the whole point of patents, it's like you present a broad patent and then it comes back to you, and then their job is to refine it to make it more specific.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I said the word correctly.
Specific, yeah.
Yeah, to narrow it down. Your whole point is to narrow it down. What's the exact details of exactly what you're trying to patent, and it's supposed to be a back and forth. And unfortunately, the fact that someone's like, "Oh yeah," click, and then moved on with it without any kind of rebuttal was one of the biggest issues right now. So in terms of the mod, again, going back to like you said with the modding community, yeah, you hope this thing doesn't happen because a lot of, like you said, a lot of great games have come from the modification of other games, and even great ideas and great features and situations that even game developers were originally not working on thought about it. They looked towards that and they added onto it. Like, I think even back in the day, I think they were working on the ideas of GTA 3 mod that was trying to go online. I don't think that it actually worked out at the end, though.
I believe they managed to do something with that. At the very least, they didn't get right until San Andreas.
Mm-hmm.
San Andreas, there was definitely a multiplayer mod for San Andreas, which was freaking great.
Yeah, and you have to think that like Rockstar saw the potential in that, and now
you have GTA Online.
Yeah, and it's their biggest moneymaker yet. So it's like kind of taking ideas from the community is also it's also just as much as beneficial to the game publishers to see what kind of cool ideas that people are coming up with the games that they've created. And it also goes back to this whole idea of ownership. The ability that once I've bought this product, I can do whatever modifications that I want with it, because I bought it. It's my product. I can do whatever I want with it. And most importantly, these mods are free. So no one's making any money off of this. It's just ideas just being presented.
Well, that being said, yes, most mods are free, but to support the obviously the development. Yeah, exactly.
Donations. So I know this is the way they can get around. That's around the legal hole of
that's the complication that people says, like you can't like obviously a donation,
but it's a donation. Yeah, I understand.
But still, they're probably still gonna try to make an excuse saying like they're still making money, some kind of income.
Yeah.
From, even though a donation is completely a separate thing from like
they're probably trying to find a way around that too at the moment. Like it's just a different wording pretty much, and people get monthly donations. For certain subscriptions,
with Patreon or Subscribestar, or PC, and I know all the the sites,
So,
but as it stands, like the whole lawsuit thing is, it's getting messy, and Nintendo really needs to just like calm down. That's all I can really say at this point. Nintendo just needs to calm down, but. What do you think about the ongoing lawsuit? Do you think that modding should be something that's not considered, like, should modding be considered, should it not be considered in this lawsuit? Like, let us know. And if you like what we do here, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm Mike with Isaac, and we are saying peace.